He felt invincible. He worked his whole life, hit retirement, and finally bought his dream home, a $90,000 motorhome. 3 years later, that motorhome has eaten close to $40,000 of his raw cash. Sadly, money he now desperately needs for his healthcare. But listen, this is not just a story about a bad purchase. This is a story about one of the most common, one of the most silent wealth killers in retirement. And today, I'm going to break down how exactly it happened and exactly what he should have done instead. Stick around, because the mistake isn't what you think it is. If you are anywhere near retirement, or if you know someone that is planning to retire soon, do something quickly. Subscribe to this channel. Because this exact mistake is quietly wrecking so many people's retirement, even faster than market crashes ever will. Let me read what he sent in. Look, I never thought I would be the guy sharing my story online, but I need people to learn from my stupidity. When I retired at 65, I felt invincible. I had my retirement savings, so I bought the big dream, a brand new $90,000 luxury motorhome. I envisioned my wife and me traveling the country in comfort. What nobody tells you is that the buying price is just the down payment on a money pit. The insurance was astronomical. Storage costs hundreds a month when we weren't using it. Every time I filled the tank, it felt like taking a hammer to my savings. Within 3 years between maintenance and brutal depreciation, that motorhome swallowed nearly $40,000 of my liquid cash, money I drastically need now for healthcare. I ended up selling it at a massive loss. My biggest regret isn't missing out on trips, it's trading my financial freedom for a depreciating toy. Listen to that very carefully. What is his biggest regret? It isn't the trips he missed, it's what he traded away to get these things. And this sentence is very important. That statement he made is very, very important. So his mistake here is not just that he bought a home. That's not really the mistake. There's something deeper that we need to dissect. There are so many people out there that could go and buy, they have their different expenses. They could buy a motorhome, buy a house, buy whatever they've dreamed of during retirement. There are so many people that could make that purchase. But the trap, the issue is when you buy something without factoring in the true cost of ownership. So there are two things. There's just the upfront purchase price, and there's a true cost of ownership. That is when you factor in all the different costs, maintenance, insurance, everything, tax. When you factor in all those things, that's what we call the total cost of ownership. So in different purchases people make, they need to factor this in. Don't be deceived by the upfront payment, the payment you can clearly see. So when you don't consider things like fuel, maintenance, storage, or tax, all these little payment on different purchases, this is what the financial experts or planners call the iceberg cost of big purchases. The visible price is just the tip of the iceberg. That price you say, oh, you want to buy this is the price. It's just the tip of the iceberg. But you see, what is underneath? That is what actually sinks people. Yeah, that's what causes people to drown in different inflation lifestyle. And here is the part that is very dangerous, especially in retirement. At the point of retirement, you are no longer working. So you don't have like a paycheck coming in. You are now like dependent on your investment, like your pension. So what does that mean? That means the money you are supposed to survive on for the rest of your life is going down the drain even at a faster rate than it's supposed to be. That is very, very scary for most people. So let's try to break down where this $40,000 spent actually went to. So unlike the houses that tend to appreciate in value, motorhomes, they really depreciate so much in value. Within the first year alone, you could lose about 20 to 30% of the value of the motorhome. So it's kind of like a depreciating asset. So what does that mean? So he bought the motorhome for about $90,000. So that means just based on depreciation, it would have costed close to 20 or $25,000 on depreciation alone. So for those kind of things like the motorhomes, you could have insurance that could cost thousands. Yeah, thousands of dollars in a year. What about storage? So if you don't have your own personal home and you just want to stay strictly in the motorhome, you might have need to have another place for storage, which might cost some hundreds of dollars per month, whether you use it or not. And what about maintenance? The tires, engine servicing, generator upkeep, and even when we go to the fuel cost, you might be spending maybe two or three times more than a regular vehicle. When you add all this together, then you now begin to see that, oh, over the years, it's possible to actually lose $40,000 in cash. Yeah? Now, the important thing is, you guys that are working, you might not understand the gravity. Do you get? But someone who is in retirement, who's seeing this money go out of the account, who is bleeding so much from the account, it's another ball game. The tension is on another level. So when you're working, okay, you made a bad purchase, you can somewhat correct it by, okay, another income is coming in. Do you understand? But in retirement, it's somehow scary. Do you understand? Because, in retirement, you might be depending on maybe pension or stocks. Some of these things might not be as guaranteed as you want. Because then you are now thinking of, oh, this money is reducing from my pool of money, the pool of money that I have to survive throughout my lifetime. I'm reducing it because of these big expenses. So it's slightly different. I know some people, their pensions might be fixed, but there's some people that if their pensions is majorly from the stock market, that could be a very scary position. Remember, remember he said something. So being at his retirement age, he said he now needs the money for healthcare. That's the challenge. So because of the increase in age, at old age, you might begin to have some health issues. And you can't even phantom how you'll be making big expenses on things that are causing you financial worries. So your health being so fragile and the money bleeding away on something like a motorhome can so much affect the mental health of that individual. So it's kind of like a different ball game than when you are young, healthy, active, and working. So generally, for anyone out there who is approaching the retirement age, this is an advice I will give you. Whenever you want to make a big purchase, don't just look at the upfront costs. Calculate the total amount of ownership. Would this purchase involve me paying tax, insurance, maintenance? Look at all these different factors. Factor it in. Do your research about it. When you make big purchases, you shouldn't just go into big purchases by just winging it. Do some deep research about it so that that big purchase will bring joy to your life, will bring satisfaction and pleasure to your life, and not financial stress. So for someone who is considering a motorhome, you might decide not to just buy it straight away. What you can do is you can rent it out, like try to rent it for a few days and see and have an experience with it temporarily before you commit yourself to having it for a long term. Do you understand? So rent it out and so that you can have a bit of the experiences of the challenges. So that because of that test, you can now know, oh, do you want this thing long term or do you just want it short term? Or maybe because of the experience, you might just lose interest all of a sudden. Like you figure out, oh, this is really not for you. So yeah, test run it. Don't just buy it outright. Also, because you're in retirement, You should also have your money for like guilty pleasures, your guilt-free money. So you know that when you are making all these kind of expenses, you are not touching money for your basic needs, which would also involve healthcare. Do you understand? So don't just make money. Oh, because you have 1 million, just remove 90,000. You need to calculate, do your research and calculate. Okay, this money I want to use, it should not affect my basic needs. It can be from the extra, but not my basic needs. So you need to really sit down and do this proper calculation before you just jump into any big purchase. Another thing you can do is have a second opinion. It could be a trusted friend or somebody who financially savvy. It could be an adult child. It could be your partner. Get a second opinion. Don't just make rash decisions because you feel this is your dream. Sometimes things you think you want to do, eventually when you do it, it might now be like, "Ah, I don't feel it." You may not feel that joy or fulfillment doing those things. So it's good at times to get advice from another wise individual or somebody who is also financially responsible. So I don't know who is listening out there, but if you know you're in similar shoes to what this guy is facing in retirement, all hope is not lost yet. What you can do is build your emergency funds and have a cushion for healthcare expenses. I like to tell people generally have like 1 year, aim towards having 1 year. You have your goals, you start 3 months emergency funds, increase it to like 6 months, then increase it to 1 year. Generally, 1 year should be okay for most people of emergency funds. What are emergency funds? That is your expenses per month. Have 1 year set aside for that in case of any emergencies. That's a good way to start. Now, these funds should not be used for buying cars, buying houses, buying motorhomes. Do you understand? So because you're in retirement does not mean you should not have emergency fund. You should definitely continue to have your emergency funds. And of course, you need to know how much to safely withdraw from your retirement pot. So some people withdraw like 4% yearly. Some people say it's safer to do 3% yearly. So within 3 to 4% might be fine for most people. So ensure that you are within those parameters so that you don't overspend money from your retirement savings. So yeah, because I want to congratulate anybody that has gone into retirement age. For those who are actually old, you've come this far in life. You still have some years to go. For some people, it might still be 50 years to go, 40, 30 years to go. So you still have a long way to go, and there's still need for you to be financially savvy. So don't give up and don't think the world has come to an end. If there are any mistakes you've made, now is still the right time to make attempts to fix it, to correct those issues so that your financial life in future can be even better than how it is currently. As you all should know, or even if all of you don't know, I'm just giving my opinions, trying to help everyone out there to be more financially savvy. I'm not a financial advisor, but I just have a charitable heart to help as many people as I can help with this knowledge. And I want everyone out there to have not just a good amount of money for retirement, but for them to be able to manage it well when they get to that retirement age. That is my goal. So, are you approaching retirement? Are you already in retirement, or do you know someone that is in retirement or approaching retirement? Share this video with them because the conversations we've had in this video could help someone save thousands, hundreds, or even millions of dollars in the future. Subscribe for more honest financial breakdowns every single week. And let me know in the comment section if you know someone who has made a big purchase in retirement, which now they seem to be regretting. I will see you on the next one.